Hi, it's Noisy Andrew from partymeeple and welcome to the internet. It's chucking it down rain in Bulu today, so we'll regard that as just extra atmosphere for the video. Being Western Australian, I grew up playing AFL, that was on Saturdays, and on Sundays we all played hockey, actual hockey on a grass field. Being a country boy, that's just what you did. I also spent a few years in primary school playing football. As the little school I went to didn't have enough boys to make up an AFL team, football was what we played. But in 1987, a friend convinced me to join his rugby club, and I fell in love with that game. So when I designed my first print and play board game, it was a rugby game. Go Forward Rugby was web published in 2004, and since then, some people may have played it. As it's currently Rugby World Cup 2023, I thought now would be a good time to chat about the world's most indie football code and my first board game to the world. But first, for the rugby curious, how's it about we do a quick how the fuck does rugby work? To the casual observer, rugby just looks like random piles of bodies and an all-in wrestling session with occasional bouts of running around. So rugby is played on a field approximately 100 metres long. To score, you and your team must place the ball on the ground over the goal line. This is called a try. You can also score by kicking the ball off the ground between the posts and over the crossbar. You may not pass or throw the ball forward, but you may kick the ball in any direction. If an opponent has the ball, you get possession from them by tackling them to the ground, at which time they must let go of the ball. Then you can pick it up and continue. But usually, you'll have to wrestle the other team away from the tackle area first. This is how the piles of bodies form. If you want to be part of this piles of bodies contest, you must join it from your own team's side of the pile. If you join it from any other angle, you'll be offside and give away a penalty. Generally, whenever a pile of bodies contest is underway, each team must stay on their own side of the pile, or they'll be offside and give away a penalty. This makes your coach and teammates sad. There is a great deal of personal discipline in rugby and staying on your own side of the pile. It's up to you to do it. Referees will help. You'll often hear them calling out to players, get back, take a step, all that sort of thing. But generally, it's up to you and your discipline to not give away penalties. A good team may only give away maybe 8 to 10 penalties in a game. And in the recent New Zealand-France test, France only gave away 4 penalties all game. New Zealand a lot more, which is probably why they lost. However, when the ball emerges from the wrestling pile, all bets are basically off and players can run around wherever they want, basically. There's dozens of complicated ways for players to get offside in rugby, but provided the referee thinks you are not affecting the play and trying to get back into a legal position, you will not be penalised. You'll often see players running around looking like a tree, which is a signal to the referee like, I know I'm offside, I'm just getting back here where it's good. There's a bunch of other rules. Actually, they are called laws, but there's way too many to cover in this video and you'd probably drift off. Rugby is a bit of an oddity, and then it was devised by a bunch of posh upper-class students in England, but is easily the most socialist football code I've ever played. What do I mean? Well, I've played rugby with many folk who just did not have the body shape, speed or dexterity to play AFL or football, but they could still make a meaningful contribution in a rugby team. All you need to play rugby is an average level of fitness and a little courage. There's a place on a rugby team for just about any person. The current All Abilities Rugby movement is actually big proof of this. I'll link to the All Abilities Rugby movement here in Western Australia. Go and watch their short promo video. It's beautiful and inspiring. So, now we've talked a little bit about rugby, let's talk a little bit about Go Forward Rugby. Here's a copy I made earlier. This was actually a prize from a World Cup, many World Cups ago, and can't remember. I ran a competition of some sort, posted this to somewhere, and the guy that won it didn't want it and sent it back. So there you go. But anyway, let's use this as the copy I'm going to use to explain how Go Forward Rugby worked, or at least my ideas for designing a rugby board game. A rugby board game worked in 2004. Mid-noughties, as we like to call it. So, as you might expect, Go Forward Rugby is played on a board. And on this board, a rack slides up and down, backwards and forwards, as your team carries the ball up the field or stops the other team from carrying the ball up the field. So, players attack and defend by playing cards. Each side has their own personal deck of cards, in this case yellow and green. I was obviously thinking Australia at the time. And on the cards you could see a very young me, because like, what else was I going to do for art? I wonder what camera I used to take the picture. I wonder what software I used. This would have been produced on an Amiga computer, I think, back in the day. Anyway, you will notice that each card has some rugby stats on the top. I had to try and break down rugby into the fewest number of statistics possible. Like, clearly a human being has more than 3 stats. Have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons? And not just a human being even. But I didn't want this to be overcomplicated. So I've basically broken this down into run, tackle and shove. Probably an oversimplification. But anyway, the cards sit like this. The cards sit like this in the rack facing you. So you can't see the cards the other person has in their rack. You'll find out what they are, but you have to, like, there's a memory element there. And during the game, you must have a complete team of cards in the rack. You will notice that this card here are the centres, players 12 and 13. And this card here is the number 8, which is actually the name of his position, number 8. So you must have cards 1 through 15 in the rack at all time. And to play an action, you will need to play a card from your hand that matches the card you're removing from the rack to do the action. As with a lot of games, there's a dice roll included in most of the actions. You roll a dice after adding up some numbers, and the highest or the lowest number wins depending on the action. It's been a long time since I've been anywhere near this, and I read the rules again before I sat down and was embarrassed by my spelling mistakes and bad grammar and vagaries, and they must have been good, but I can't remember all of them now. But one thing I do remember is on the dice, the 1 is a -1. So this dice actually, for a 6-sided dice, has a spread of 7 numbers. So it goes from -1, well, if you count 0, that's 8, isn't it? Something for you to think about. So the spread of numbers here is from -1 to 6. And the rationale for that is that when you fail, passing the ball, making a tackle, driving people out of a ruck, usually fail badly, which is the -1, but generally speaking, you'll be successful to some degree or another. So this dice goes -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is only 7 results, but it's a spread of 8 if you agree that 0 is a number. Basically, everybody keeps going, one after the other, turn and turn about, or however you'd like to describe it. And if the ball carrier is successful, they will move the rack up the field to the next position. If the defender is successful on their turn, they will steal the ball off the ball carrier, and then on their next turn, maybe they can move the rack the other way. If the rack moves to the end goal area here, then you've scored a try. After 20 turns, 2 turns of 10 halves, the game is over and the most tries wins. But Andrew, that's an abomination of a rugby explanation. Well, that's all you're going to get. But thank you for watching. If you're curious, rugby curious that is, then why not find a place like your local pub or something like that, or a friend who has a streaming service, because most of the games in the Rugby World Cup will probably be behind some sort of stupid paywall. And have a look. Make sure you watch it with someone who knows how it works. Rugby is a complicated game, and there's nothing wrong with not understanding it. It's complicated and difficult. If you're curious about the game I designed in 2004, then head to the Party Meeple webpage, click the link to the free print and play download area, and download. Have a look at my terrible rule writing, and drop some comments in the bottom telling me how bad it is. If I get 2 people commenting on my bad rule writing, I will go and edit them, because, you know, I will do that sort of thing for 2 people. Anyway, thanks for watching. You will see me on the next video.